MinerBiker here. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I am down in my basement, and what I'm in the middle of doing is I'm building a 29-inch plus wheel set to fit on my fat bike. So 29-inch rims, plus size. These are 50mm wide rims, and then they're getting laced up on a 150 by 15 front hub and a 197 by 12 rear hub, so it'll fit on my fat bike frame. So I've already got the front one all built. This one's done, ready to go. It's even all got the tubeless tape, got the valve stem, everything all in. So what I'm going to do in this video is go over how I built this wheel while I'm doing the rear one here. So I will say I am certainly not a professional wheel builder. This process that I follow is based on a video done by Ali Clarkson on YouTube, where he goes into a detailed method of how he builds his wheels. I followed that process about a year ago, built up the rear wheel that I've been running on my LaSalle Peak Enduro bike, and I beat the heck out of it for a year and haven't had to touch it yet, so I guess it must have worked out pretty good. So doing that same process again, I'm building these wheels. Again, not a professional, this is the way I'm doing it. So yeah, hopefully you find it interesting. Hopefully it's informative. I know for me, I used to think the wheel building was some kind of crazy black magic or something, but in reality, it's actually not that hard and pretty straightforward. Makes a lot of sense when you think about it and think through the process and stuff. So do the best I can to walk you through how I do it. Here we go. Sorry, my voice sounds a little funny. Been a little bit under the weather for a day or two. So part of the reason we're doing this in the basement instead of outside riding. I don't know if my body's up for riding right now. Okay, got our spokes out. One of the nice things with this Onyx hub is the spacing on both sides and the flange diameter is exactly equal, and so you can use it so it's all one length of spokes. You don't have a different length of spoke on each side. My front wheel wasn't that way. I had two different lengths of spokes, which is normal. You usually have one length for each side, but this Onyx hub, that's just the way that on this fat hub it worked. They made the spacing and the flange diameter is the exact same on each side, so it makes it easy. I only have one length of spokes to deal with. So first things first is to figure out is to get your key spoke in the right spot starting off. So the way you do that, you want it to look right. You want the logo of your hub to line up with the valve core on your wheel or on your rim, and also you want your valve stem to end up in a wide gap in the spokes. So what you do is you come on the side of the hub that has the most stress on it, which on the rear hub is going to be the drive side. Find your logo, find the hole that is lined up with your logo, which is this one right here, and then you count to the left the number of holes that you're doing spoke crosses. So I'm doing a 3-cross build, so I'm going to count 3 holes to the left. 1, 2, 3. That's where I'm going to put in my first spoke, and that will be my key spoke. So we'll take that, and then we're going to grab our rim and bring the rim up here, and we're going to put that in the first hole to the left of our valve stem. Go ahead and throw a nipple on there. I'll lube these nipples here in a second, so don't freak out that I'm not doing that yet. So that's our key spoke in place. Now we just go ahead and on this side of the hub, let me turn the camera just a little bit. So on this side of the hub, we're going every other hole. Go in, and then every other hole on the flange equates to every 4th hole up here on the rim. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4th hole over, that's where we'll stick in our next one. And then we just keep on going around on this side, every other hole on the hub flange, every 4th hole on the rim. Work our way around, then we'll jump to the other side. now we got those first 8 spokes in on that side. So now we're going to flip the wheel over, and now we got to put in the key spoke on the other side. So this is the second most important spoke. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our key spoke from the first side, which is this one right here. It's up here by the valve stem hole. We're going to follow that one down here to where it meets the flange, and then we're going to come straight across to the other flange to the hole that is just to the right of being lined up with that hole that our first key spoke went in. The one that's just to the right, that one is where I put in the key spoke on this side. Put that spoke in, and then that one comes up to the hole in the rim that's just to the right of our original key spoke. You get those two in the right place, everything else will come out good. You mess one of those two up and things ain't gonna work out too well. So now we got that key spoke in. Now we come around, again, go every other hole in your hub flange, come up every 4th hole on the rim, or in this case, gonna be every one of these spokes is gonna go in the hole just to the right of the spoke that's coming from the other side of the hub. Go around and get all these put in place. Now we'll put in the spokes going the other direction. Obviously on this wheel build, I didn't have to worry about the directionality of the rim. These rims don't have a direction to them, so I didn't have to worry about that. Nor are the spoke holes offset, so you don't have to worry about that either. Obviously if you're building a rim that's offset, then you gotta make sure you got it facing the right direction. But these ones, don't have to worry about it. And I'm just putting these spoke nipples on just a couple of turns. Just enough to get them to where they'll stay put. So I get everything all laced up. Okay, so now we got all that first 16 spokes in. So now, before we start the other one, this is when we want to make sure that we're turned the right direction here with our hub, because obviously we can go this way or we can go this way. So if we look up here where our valve core is, we want to make sure that we have a wide gap in the spokes right here for when you're pumping up your wheel, and also you want your logo on your hub to line up with that. So if it's turned this way, that's wrong. We're going to have a narrow gap and the logo's clear over here. But if I turn the hub this way, then it's all lined up right. Logo's lined up, we're going to have a wide gap. So I want to make sure my hub is twisted that way while I put in the rest of these spokes, and that will get it locked in. And now your spokes are going to come in from the back side, pull it through. Now I'm doing a 3-cross build, so I'm going to cross over 3 spokes. So I'm going to cross this one first, over the top of this one, then over the top of this one, and then I'm going to go underneath this 3rd one and over here to this spoke hole. So you go over, so we're going to cross 3 spokes because it's a 3-cross build. And you'll go over the top of the first 2, then underneath the 3rd. For your 3 crosses, go ahead and put that nipple on. Again, just a few turns just to get it secured. Leave you a little wiggle room for if you need it. If you feel like there's kind of some funky tension or something in your hub, just kind of wiggle it around. Sometimes the spoke nipples will get hung up and won't be coming, kind of be hooked on the rim, won't be coming through. Kind of bind things up a little bit. Sometimes you just kind of got to wiggle it around a little. Get everything to kind of settle into place. So now we can just go around, we'll put all those spokes in from the back side on this hub flange. Again, we'll just bring it through from the back. Cross this one, cross over that one, underneath the 3rd one, and to our hole in the rim. Yep, we'll do all the 8 spokes on this side, then we'll flip the wheel around, do the ones on the other side, following the same pattern, and our wheel will be all laced up, just like that. And this whole thing system applies if you're doing a 1 cross or a 2 cross or a 3 cross, 4 cross, whatever spoke pattern you're doing. Main thing is that first key spoke, you start it lined up with the logo on your hub, and then you count to the left the number of crosses you're doing. And then when you're doing this second set of spokes on that side of the wheel, you make sure that you cross the right number of spokes. To do that, the same system applies whichever lacing pattern you're doing. Again, we'll kind of wiggle it around a little bit, make sure everything's kind of settle into place. Don't worry about hurting it. You think of the amount of stress that's going to go through this while it's getting ridden. There ain't nothing I can do to it by hand right now that's going to hurt anything. Okay, wheels all laced up now. Double check, make sure everything turned out good. So we got a wide gap here at our valve hole. You can look through your valve hole, look straight through it, see the logo on your hub. All your spokes are all crossing each other 3 times. Everything looks pretty good. Hey, are you helping? Are you being helpful? You're about as helpful here as you are out on the trail. Okay, so now for the next step here, got the bike in a wheel touring stand, or got the wheel in a wheel touring stand, not the whole bike, obviously. This is actually a wheel touring stand that I built myself. It's all homemade. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do with it in the wheel touring stand is you're gonna go around and put just a drop of lube on each spoke nipple. Best way to start off, just here at your valve hole so you can keep track of where you've been. Just go around and you're gonna put just 1 drop right on the threads where the spoke goes into the nipple, and then it'll get drawn down into the threads as we tighten it up. So this is just linseed oil, got in an old chain lube bottle here, so yep. Reachable. I can do it sometimes if you guys picked out handy. Not do this like I do, which my dad told me on the phone, can't do. I'll come back around and pick out in a second, my access for my mess. So now I'm going to take my spoke driver again, and I'm going to go around on the rim, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive each nipple on until the base of the nipple is right even with the end of the threads on the spoke. That'll kind of get everything down to the same spot, all get equal base tension to start from, and then we'll keep tensioning from there. But that's what I'm going to start off with, is just with the nipple driver, and go around and tighten everything down until the spoke, or till the base of the nipple is all the way down to the base of the threads. Are you helping? Are you being helpful? Hi. Are you being so helpful? Yes, you are. Huh. You're very helpful. I could never do anything without you. Alright, so now what we're going to do, again, you want to make sure to, especially initially here, to make sure you're tensioning all the spokes evenly, otherwise your wheel's going to end up really egg-shaped and it'll be hard to get that all true back out again. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start at the valve hole again, and we're just going to go around and add maybe 1 turn or even just a half a turn of tension to every spoke all the way around. And we'll just keep doing that a little at a time until we start getting a good, decent amount of tension on all of them. So that way we're tensioning all of them evenly until we get a good solid tension all the way around, and then we can start to tweak them more individually as needed to get the true and the dish and so on. But for now, we want to make sure to tension everything pretty evenly, so we're just going to come on here and we're just going to do, for now, I'm going to do 1 full turn to every spoke. Just work all the way around, doing 1 full turn to everything. A lot of times you have to go around and do this a couple of times, adding 1 full turn or something, or a half turn. But it's better to have to do this multiple times and kind of work the tension up slow and make sure you're keeping it even. Much better to do that than to get carried away and be like, okay, I'm going to throw 3 full turns on all at once, starting at your valve cord, and by the time you get around to the other side, you can only get 1 turn or something on because you pulled the spokes too tight from the other side, and then you're completely uneven. Better to just kind of take it a little bit slow, work your way into it, add that tension gradually, try and keep it even. Okay, so we've gone all the way around, added 1. It's actually not looking too bad. It's a little crooked, but overall not too bad, especially considering we still have very little tension in it. So now we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to start our valve hole, go around, add 1 more turn of tension to everything. Keep repeating that process till I feel like we got a good base tension. Alright, so we've gone all the way around twice. Starting to get there, nothing crazy yet, but we're getting a little tension built up. We're going to go around and just do the same thing again, add 1 more turn to everything. Okay, so gone all the way around again, 1 more turn. Now we're feeling like we got pretty good spoke tension on there. Basically, you just find your spot where the rim's too far that way. Pretty much you just want to loosen the spokes on this side, tighten the spokes on this side. And you want to do a little bit at a time and not just like 1 or 2. You kind of want to, you know, maybe say if right here's your worst spot, I'm going to maybe loosen this one a half turn, tighten this one a half turn, maybe a half turn and a half turn, and then like a quarter turn, and kind of gradually work your way out a little bit over the area that is the problem. You don't want to do anything too crazy all at once. And again, we don't have to go too crazy on getting it perfectly true right now, because we still got to go through and check the dish, and then we're going to stress the wheel too, so no need to go too crazy on getting it true right now. I just want to get it pretty close, which I think we are actually pretty close right there. Also, it looks like our up and down is pretty dang good. Check that by bringing that guy over and underneath the rim right there. Give her a spin. A teensy little bit of egg shape to it, but not a whole lot. Basically what I need to do there is just, so this spot here needs to go down. So we need to loosen all these spokes just a little tiny bit. And then you could tighten the spokes over here just a little bit and just squish it all together just a little to get that egg shape out of it. Now we're going to check the dish. So we'll look at it right there on that side, see how much gap we got. Now we're going to flip it around. We want to have the same amount of gap on each side so the rim will be centered in the dropouts of the bike. And right now I got a little bit more of a gap here, so that means the whole rim needs to go that way just a little bit. So what we're going to do is we'll start at the valve core, so the rim needs to go that way, so we're going to tighten the spokes on this side, loosen the spokes on this side, just like a quarter of a turn each. So tighten a quarter of a turn, loosen a quarter of a turn. It'll shift the whole rim that way, hopefully without throwing the trueness of it off. Shift the whole thing over to get our dish right. Make sure you keep track of which side you're loosening and which side you're tightening. Otherwise you can really throw your true off if you start doing it the wrong way. Okay, go all the way around. Check it. Okay, let's see what gap we got on that side. Flip it around. I got pretty much the same gap on that side. I think our dish looks pretty good. Trueness is pretty close. Got a decent amount of tension in all our spokes. This may seem a bit violent, but that's what it's perfectly fine to do. The way to stress this, I'm actually just gonna set the wheel right here on the ground, get to do it on some carpet or some cardboard or something like that so you don't beat up your hub. And then basically we're just gonna come around and I'm gonna stand my full body weight on every set of spoke crosses. Kinda just stand my whole weight on it and just slowly pivot it around, hit every single spot. You don't have to worry about breaking it. Again, you think about the amount of stress that goes through this wheel when you're riding it. Honestly, this is fine. And what we're doing here is kind of trying to almost stress it harder than it's going to get stressed, at least each individual spoke, harder than it'll ever get stressed in real life in riding. So come around, stomp on the suckers. Again, you want to hit on every cross at least once. Flip it over, do the same thing on the other side. Come around, stomp on them. Also, you want to make sure you got shoes, or in my case, slippers on while you're doing this so you don't hurt your feet standing on those little thin pieces of metal. There we go. One wheel officially stomped on. Now it's stomped on the floor. Other thing you can do, there's different people like use different methods for stressing their wheels. I like doing that one, stepping on the floor. Again, that's the one that Ali Clarkson does in his video. And seemed to work good on my last one, so it worked. Another one you can do that I'll do sometimes, you come around to each of your spoke crossings and just kind of squeeze the suckers real good, kind of flex them into place. Good idea to have some gloves on while you're doing this so you're not beating your hands up. You just work your way around and squeeze all your spoke crossings, both the ones on the same, squeeze them like this on the same side of the wheel, and then it's good to reach through and grab the ones from opposite sides and squeeze those crossings together real nice and hard, and just kind of massage them spokes. Again, you're just trying to kind of settle everything into place good now. Stress it all as much as possible now so that things won't move later on while you're riding. That's basically what I've done for stressing the wheel. Again, worked out good the first time I did it, so figure it must work. Alright, so come down here, check our true. They're a little bit off, but not too bad for beating on it, stepping on it. Flip around, see if our dish is still pretty close. Final trim, double check all our tensions are good wherever we want them, and should be good to go. I think it's pretty dang true, pretty straight. I'm happy with that. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go around and check again all our spoke tensions, make sure there's nothing weird going on, and just make sure that everything's up to the right tension. If I need to, I can go add, a quarter turn or whatever to every spoke just to tension it up just a little bit more, if only there's quite enough, and then just make sure you don't have anything that's too weird. Obviously things are gonna be a little bit different just because the tweaks to get it trued up. So not everything's gonna be exactly the same, but you want to make sure you don't have some random spoke in there that's way tighter, way looser than everything else. I want to make sure they're all at least in the same ballpark anyway. So we'll run around and double check everything, make sure there's nothing weird. So now for a final step here, what I'm going to do is, so what happens when you're tensioning up your spokes is they get more and more tension on them. When you're twisting the nipple, it'll twist the whole spoke a little bit. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go all the way around the entire thing, and I'm going to turn every nipple about a half turn tighter, and then I'm gonna back it off about a quarter of a turn. So I'm actually be tightening up everything about a quarter of a turn, because I'm gonna turn a half turn and then I'm gonna back it off again a quarter of a turn. That's to release that tension back out of the spoke. If you do it evenly, and it shouldn't throw off your true or anything, you should just add that final last little bit of tension, and it will release that twist out of the spokes so they don't do that when you go out and ride. There we go, made it all the way around. One more double check of our trueness, make sure none got thrown off. That's looking pretty dang true. Hunker pretty good. Looks like a good wheel. Everything feels good, everything looks good. I think we're all done. Alright, so now we're just gonna go around with some paper towel and some rubbing alcohol. Clean the inside of the rim real good before we put on the rim tape. Alright, there they are. They are built and ready for some tires on them. Pretty stoked on it. I think turned out pretty good. Again, got the Onyx rear hub, and then this is just a Sunring front hub. Front hubs I'm not too particular about, as long as they've got just good cartridge bearings that can be replaced, but I love my Onyx rear hub. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed that wheel build. Hopefully it was informative and enjoyable, and maybe it'll make you brave enough to try building your own wheels if you want to. I know it's something that I wanted to do for a while and was just worried about it, because it just always seemed like something that was just so difficult and so just kind of weird, abstract. But then once you actually start looking into it and learning about it, it makes a lot of sense, and it's really not all that difficult. Just make sure you take all the right steps, and especially make sure you get the wheel good and stressed so that it hopefully will stay tensioned and true for a good long while. Anyways, super stoked on this new wheel build. Go on the fat bike. Got some really exciting stuff coming up here in the next month or so along that has a lot to do with this new wheel set. So a lot of big adventures coming on these 29-inch plus wheels on the fat bike frame. Anyways, thanks again for watching. Check out the other videos on the channel, and leave us a comment down below. Like that hit button. Keep digging up new places to ride.